So I'm wondering, what is that brings you here today, uh, in with the kind of feelings that may be relevant to everything arising from the coronavirus pandemic?
Mhm. So during this time of being at home and inside and basically isolated, like my husband, he's living here, my dog as well, but still I'm like in my own mode of doing my things, and I have my workload, and I do that and it's all fine, but sometimes I forget to take care of myself in the sense of like I do meditation and I do yoga and freeletics, all this combination, but beforehand when I would need some distraction, or like when I was feeling like too much stuff in my head, too many things, I would just go outside. I would go climbing, meet people there, or just go for a coffee. And now that's not available anymore. So I thought I had found a good way, like some active stuff, some more relaxing stuff. But then sometimes I'm forgetting about that. I don't know why exactly that is. And then it feels like when then things sort of pile up, I cannot really cannot really like see what is important anymore, and then it feels overwhelming, and then it feels like this headless chicken, or being below the water, like not knowing where to look because everything is blurry.
Mm.
And yeah, I felt that coming up 2 or 3 times already. And when I feel this is coming, when I'm then not taking good care of myself, then everything's like, "Ah, this is horrible." And yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I hear you. I think it's a frequent experience now for many people that the way they used to deal with the rising stress with life, there are so many different coping strategies of going outside, going for a walk, for a jog, meeting friends, going to the pub, and now all of those tools to manage the stress, they're taken away from people, and so in fact they are in a way forced to be indoors for most of the time at least, and to be there facing all the challenges of life, plus all the stresses of the pandemic, plus of course there are collective anxiety and stress arising from everywhere, from our friends, our family, from TV, from social media. So it's no wonder that that overwhelm is arising for you as it is for so many people. So I'm wondering, would you like to see how we can deal with your overwhelm using tapping today? Okay.
better.
Let me give you a brief description of what it is. So, first of all, emotional freedom techniques or tapping, it's a combination, it's a hybrid method that combines together the cognitive processing together with somatic body processing. And
Mhm.
so it brings together the somatic elements, the elements of exposure and desensitization. It's got elements of mindfulness to it, and also
Mhm.
it's got the elements of cognitive restructuring. So when we bring all of this together, what tends to happen is that challenging feelings tend to evolve. So
Mhm.
the goal of tapping is not necessarily kind of to take a bad feeling and then to kill it. It's more to allow the processing to occur, and a person to start kind of evolving through their feelings to feel better. And
Mhm.
feeling better may be different, of course, for depending where you're at.
Mhm.
Makes sense. So now in terms of tapping points, they're very specific. It's not just general kind of points anywhere. It's not just kind of for random distraction. They're very specific tapping points, and they are linked very closely with the traditional Chinese meridian points.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
those points, they're proven, scientifically proven, to have much more significant impacts on the person's processing of the feeling than just tapping in random points. So that's why
Mhm.
we need to be quite precise in where we tap.
Mhm.
Okay, all good so far, all clear?
Ask you something.
Sure.
Um, when we use this now, is it then a technique that when the feeling arises again afterwards, maybe it's less, or in whichever way, would the same sequence help again and help move that feeling through the body? So after a while, it's just becoming less and less.
It's a very good question, and there are several ways to answer your question. So, first of all, if a feeling arises, it usually arises based on something on the inside, on some kind of either belief structure or on perhaps something habitual, something that's arisen a long time ago in the past. So by tapping on the present feeling, the feeling that we're experiencing right now, we would tend to bring the intensity of that feeling down. And that may be all that's available and possible at the time, let's say somewhere out with your clients or driving a car or sitting at home. You don't have the time to do lots of processing, lots of thinking. So this may be kind of the great way to kind of bring the intensity down. But now, if you want for that feeling not to arise, at least not to arise in relation to the same kind of underground belief systems, not to arise anymore, then deeper work may be required.
Okay.
And deep work may be saying, okay, so I'm feeling this overwhelm in my body. Let's say this overwhelm somewhere in my chest. Okay, I'm feeling it now, but it's not a new feeling. Where did I feel it before? And maybe it links to you being 15-year-old, 5-year-old, maybe something in the family. And then in the way us doing kind of imaginary tapping as we tap together on that younger you is something that will allow to resolve that inner conflict that could have been going there for many years. And once it's resolved there, then what tends to happen then, that feeling in the present moment either won't arise anymore, or if it does, it will be to much less extent. Okay. Now on to the point. So the first point is side of hand point. So here you see there's the line, so it's about an inch below the base of the little finger. And so tapping here, either one finger or a couple of fingers or all 4 fingers, that doesn't matter. You can tap one hand, so you can tap another hand. Again, it's entirely your personal preference. Okay, then the following point is top of head point.
The headstand point.
Yeah, and as you see, there will be a lot of different modalities or sources where you can see, because obviously we all have human biology discovered from different sources, but it's the same biology, still the same energy system, so there will be lots of similarities. The following point is here, so on the two ends, inner ends of the eyebrows. So could tap on one end, another end, or can have 3 fingers and tap right in between. Then the following point is striking the bone around the eye, and it's on side of eye point. So it's not on the temple, it's closer to the eye. Yep, great. Now tracking that bony ridge around the eye directly under your pupil, again quite close to the eye, tapping on the bone there. Good. Next point under the nose. We are tapping like roughly 7 or more taps, or roughly the duration of 1 breath at least. And then underlip. Those are all points on the head. The following point is under your collarbone, so it's like this is the inner end of the collarbone. It goes about an inch along the collarbone, and from the underside of it, I tap in there with all 4 fingers to kind of roughly cover the area, so you don't need to be super precise. Yeah, kind of from the underside. Okay, then the next point is under the armpit, so in line with the nipple on the side of the body, so it's a few inches underneath the armpit. Tap in there on the side. It could be one side, could be 2 sides, could be both sides at the same time. One more point here, so it's where the bra strap is. Under the nipple is slightly to the sides. This is the liver point, the kind of sensitive points. And again, you can tap there. And by the way, all of these points, they can be tapped and they could be rubbed or just held, depending on what feels better at that particular time. Those are all points on the body. A few hand points, points on the wrist here. That a lot of people find quite calming. Then the next point is on the side of the thumb, here in line with the base of the nail. Yep, so kind of, yes. That's right. And again, you can tap with 1 finger or a couple of fingers. Then the same goes the same on all the fingers. So index finger.
Always on the same spot?
Yep. Yep. Base of the nail. Then middle finger. Then we skip the ring finger and go straight for the little finger. Okay, so those are all the points, and sometimes this is all the points we use for tapping. Occasionally, when we want to really integrate the person's experience between their right brain and left brain, for the cross-brain communication and integration, there is a process that's called 9 gamut. And it looks a bit weird, but kind of go with me. It's only weird for just a couple of times, and you can see for yourself how it helps you to kind of to process that feeling. And sometimes it could be quite beneficial, so we might as well do it. So it's tapping here in the kind of in the gap between little finger and ring finger. And as you tap, at first it's looking in front of yourself with eyes open, then closing your eyes, then open your eyes, then looking around, so following your eyes clockwise once, full circle. And you see there is a little similarity here with also EMDR, that we're doing kind of those eye movements. And then one movement counterclockwise, the full circle. Of course, continue breathing at the same time. Then to access the relevant parts of the brain, it's humming any tune that comes to mind. So it could be a happy birthday, anything. So it literally a few notes, something like this. Something like that. Could be any tune you like. And of course, you can do it loud, you can do it inside your head. It doesn't matter as far as kind of you accessing that area of the brain. Then the next is counting inside yourself or loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then humming the tune again.
Just like a short sequence of notes.
Yeah, it's exactly. And then taking one deep breath in and out. So the belly breath, in and out. And usually we do that kind of as at the end of the tapping, as a sequence. Not always, but sometimes for that integration. Okay, so now, first of all, just even showing those points, how is your emotional, physical state as compared to before? Are you noticing any changes?
It's more here, especially on the side where I tap more.
Right. Okay. So interesting stuff is that side where it taps, so maybe trying to tap both sides at the same time or change sides and see how that affects the whole body. Okay. So which feeling would you like to work on? That overwhelm that you mentioned earlier or something else?
So they popped up at the same time. I don't know if they are related because it's probably my subconscious, but it's like in the neck, like this muscle here on the side, but especially on the right side. It's on both sides, but it's stronger on the right side, and it really, like, it's always there, but usually I don't have any problem with it. It's okay. But now I feel that it's really tensing up. And it's been really, I had that last year already once, and I went to the physiotherapist and it was gone, it was all good, and now I felt it creeping up again. And it's so much that it really hurts.
Okay.
And it's my right arm, so it's my computer arm. I don't know, but this is like...
Okay. Great. So, the beauty of EFT is that sometimes you don't need to know the cognitive details. So we don't need to know the story. It may be very useful, but not necessary. So let's just roll with what we've got, with that feeling on the right side of your neck, so on that pain. And maybe if you describe it to me a little bit more in terms of your perceived experience of the feeling. So I'm going to ask you a couple of somewhat strange questions. If that feeling, especially in your right side, but on both sides of the neck there, in the muscles, if it had a color, what color would it be?
It's a dark red.
Dark red. And that dark red feeling there, is it a light feeling? Is it a heavy feeling?
Heavy,
Heavy.
like not from the top, it's more like a gripping from all sides feeling.
Mm-hmm. Heavy and gripping from the sides. And temperature-wise, does it feel cold, hot? What is it like?
It's not colder than the or my body or the environment. It's around the same, a little bit warmer.
Okay, a little bit warmer. And if you were to touch it, that feeling, what texture do you think would it have?
Like texture, you mean? Like
Yeah. So I mean, is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it pliable? Is it solid?
it's like a rock that has little dents in it, but
Rock with that.
it's the dents are smoothed out by the water,
Mm.
but still visible. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is not feeling that feeling at all, and 10 is being completely kind of consumed by the feeling, very intense, where are you at now?
The moment it's a 7.
It's about a 7. Okay. Okay. So this is all the information we need to kind of to prepare for the stepping process. So now let's do one stepping round and then see what arises. It's not necessarily about decreasing the intensity, even though that might happen. It's more about just kind of tuning in into the feeling and allowing whatever is there kind of to emerge and go wherever it needs to go. Okay, so tap in side of hand point. And first we are going to do a setup. So if you can please repeat after me aloud. Even though I'm feeling this dark red feeling in my neck,
I am feeling this dark red feeling in my neck.
I accept myself exactly as I am.
I accept myself exactly as I am.
Even though I have this heavy and gripping feeling in my neck,
even though I have this gripping feeling in my neck,
deep inside, I'm okay.
deep inside, I'm okay.
Even though I've got this rock-like feeling in my neck,
even though I have this rock-like feeling in my neck,
I'm willing to accept everything that happens with me and the world around me.
I'm willing to accept everything that happens with me in the world around me.
And allowing whatever emotion that comes up with that. Now tapping on top of head, this dark red feeling. Eyebrow, this pain in my neck.
This pain in my neck.
Side of eye, heavy and gripping.
Heavy gripping.
It's like a rock with small dents.
It's like a rock with small dents.
It's been there for some time.
It's been there for some time.
This dark red feeling.
This dark red feeling.
This pain in the neck.
This pain in the neck.
This heavy and gripping feeling.
This heavy and grippy feeling.
This heavy, dark red feeling.
This heavy, dark red feeling.
This feeling in my neck.
This feeling in my neck.
Especially on the right side.
Sorry?
Especially on my right side.
Especially in my right side.
This hard, rock-like feeling.
This hard rock-like feeling.
Now, index finger. Heavy and gripping.
Heavy and gripping.
This dark red feeling.
This dark red feeling.
This pain.
This pain.
This pain.
This pain.
And now for good measure, let's do that 9 gamma maneuver. So tapping between the fingers there. Looking in front of yourself. And first, your eyes open, then eyes closed, then open again. And now follow your eyes in a circle clockwise. And now counterclockwise. And hum any tune. And now counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And again, any tune for a few seconds. Okay, now taking a deep breath in and out. Okay, and now checking in with your neck and what's happening right now in your neck. How is the feeling?
I could already feel halfway through that it's not gripping that much anymore, so it's still there, but much less.
Much less.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So if it was 7 before, where would you say it is now?
It's like a 5.
Like a 5. Okay. And so you see that this is the first round. So we tap entirely on the feeling and how it felt in the body without going into any context of kind of what is the thinking, what is the beliefs behind the feeling. And at this stage, we could either go and tap on the remaining feeling, or we can go deeper into what's going on. Like, for example, were there any images, thoughts, or emotions arising for you as we're doing the tapping?
Emotions, like no image yet, but just a sadness.
And that sadness, is it felt in the same way, or is it more there where you gestured in your chest?
It's more here.
It's more here. So kind of throat and chest there. Okay. And that feeling of sadness, does it kind of subjectively feel the same? Is it also dark red, heavy and gripping, or is it something different?
I'm just feeling that if this comes, it connects.
Okay. And so you see, if we had the full session here, what we would do, we would go like, okay, so clearly your system is giving us a clue that there is something else there, that gripping feeling perhaps somehow relies on, like a table relying on slags. So going and breaking with the sadness would be something that would perhaps influence the full release of that feeling in your neck. So what I can offer is just to do one more round of tapping on the sadness and see what happens. Would you like to do that?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. If you describe to me that sadness just a little bit, so again, in terms of color, texture, weight, and temperature.
So it's like rising from the chest till here. And it's also a dark color, but more like a dark blue, and a solid surface. Not cold. Same temperature, basically.
Okay. And how intense is that feeling, the sadness, from 0 to 10?
When I go into it, it's a 10.
Okay. So it's very, very intense feeling. And when we experience intense feelings like that, sometimes there may be too much to work on. So in this way, sometimes we can take one step away from the feeling, one step away from yourself, to bring the intensity down at first when the feeling is so much, before we actually go and dive into the feeling. And it's all kind of to minimize the intensity, to minimize the person's suffering in this case.
Well, it's like if I allow it, then it goes like this. But I know, like now when I'm talking, it's a bit at the side already. So now it's more like an 8. But I know that when I bring it up, it will come again. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that it's likely that this is again not the feeling that's just arisen just now, that it will be relying on some kind of previous experiences in your life, that most likely to completely detox and to release that feeling, we would need to go into deeper work. In that case. So in this case, we are not going probably to get down to 0 with that feeling because of so much other stuff, but just to see what initial relief we can have just from the round of tapping on the sadness. And then of course, the further work may be required, and maybe you can tap with yourself or with a qualified EFT practitioner if you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tap on sadness.
Sorry, the EFT practitioners, when I go to someone here in the area, that would be also able to go like deeper and backwards to what happened and work on that.
Depends how good they are. If they're good, then they need to. Because otherwise, it's kind of like if a practitioner would only tap on what the person experiences right now in the moment, it's kind of like having a boiling pot on the hob with the fire underneath, and just from time to time releasing the steam, and then putting the lid back on. Well, the pressure would accumulate back again. Obviously, we need to switch off the fire, and we only can switch off the fire when we go to the source of it.
Okay.
All right. So, but anyway, let's just tap on sadness and see where we get to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have the sadness in me.
I have the sadness in me.
In my chest and neck, rising up.
In my chest and throat, rising up.
And I accept that it's quite a challenging feeling for me.
I accept that it's quite a challenge feeling this.
There's a lot of sadness in me.
There's lots of sadness in me.
And even though I feel all of that sadness,
and even though I feel all of that sadness,
somewhere deep inside, behind all of that, I'm okay.
Somewhere deep inside me, behind all of that, I'm okay.
No, I want to believe that somewhere behind all of that, I'm okay.
I want to believe that somewhere behind all of that, I'm okay.
And even though the sadness is so intense,
even though the sadness is so intense,
I know I'm a good person.
I know I'm a good person.
And I'm doing my very best to deal with it.
I'm doing my very best to deal with it.
Now let's go through the points. The sadness.
Sadness.
The sadness.
The sadness.
This dark blue, heavy, solid sadness.
This dark blue, heavy, solid sadness.
Rising up.
Rising up.
This dark blue feeling.
This dark blue feeling.
All this sadness.
All the sadness.
So much sadness.
Sorry?
So much sadness.
So much sadness.
The sadness.
The sadness.
This dark blue feeling.
This dark blue feeling.
This dark blue feeling.
This dark blue feeling.
Solid and rising up.
Solid.
Rising up in my chest and neck.
Rising up in my chest and neck.
The sadness.
The sadness.
The sadness.
Sadness.
And take a deep breath in and out. Okay, and checking in with yourself with that sadness feeling. What is it like now?
It's still there, but it was the moment this was going on for a couple of floods that I could feel it was moving through me. Less strong. Yeah. Still there, but
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. And yeah, as we mentioned, to be unreasonable to expect that there's something so intense would necessarily just evaporate in a few seconds. But what you said about it's moving, so that's a very good sign that it's not just kind of sitting in one spot. It's not intractable. It's not immovable. And in fact, in EFT, there is even a technique called chasing the pain. And so what we do, doesn't have to be the pain. It's in a way kind of chasing the feeling. So if the feeling is shifting, let's say from the chest and neck to different areas you showed, then we could tap on where the feeling's gone. So let's say if that's right now somewhere in the shoulders, then we would tap on that feeling. Even sometimes, even without tapping, there's a related technique called emo flow. It's visualizing that how this feeling is moving, allowing it to soften and to flow, and then without forcing the flow, allowing for that flow to go in whichever direction it goes. It can go up, it can go down, it can track through the body in different ways, it can go out of the body in for whatever place. Sometimes maybe even uncomfortable, but it's better off for processing wherever it goes and then eventually leaving the body. So that would be one other process I would kind of suggest with this kind of feeling, that's when it is moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how are you feeling now, Anki? Are you okay with pausing this demo session kind of at this stage with that feeling?
Yeah. So I'm working with a friend, or she's like, I'm her guinea pig, and this feeling popped up. It was not like it popped up through the work. It wasn't associated to what we were working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know it's there to plug, or to plug, to harvest, to like do the work, look at it finally.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and if to do deeper work when there is more time, when you work with your friends, I would be asking the questions. Okay, so that feeling, that sadness, what does it remind you of? And using that physicality of this feeling, the blue, the dark, all the different submodalities of it, using it as your guiding beacon. So, okay, what does it remind you of in your earlier life?
Mm-hmm.
And then go in there and treating that feeling there, because that's where the kind of the strongest resolution would come from. That would prevent the feeling rising again and again and again.
Yeah, I have someone, I wouldn't do it with her, but I have someone who I could go to who I trust. So it's time.
Well, thank you for taking part in this demo session.
Thank you for showing this to me.